Artlist.io. Music licensing reimagined.
Hello, hello. Welcome. This is, as I predicted, what I said in the last video. This is the beginning of the podcast. This is what we call the East is East podcast. Thank you for joining me if you're watching, whether that be live, whether that be pre-recorded and you're watching this back. This is what we're going to be laying down the foundations for going forward. This is going to be a podcast which is not only featuring myself, but it will be also featuring one of my closest friends who will be making a usual scheduled appearance. He goes by the name of Shane, and he will be featured in upcoming episodes. Why are we naming it the East is East podcast? Well, two guys from the east of London. So technically, East is East, right? Quite simple. But this first episode is really going to be me talking personally on a one-to-one what the foundations are for this podcast going forward. Now, a lot of you will be familiar with my take on the UFC. You know, there's a lot of UFC videos, WWE videos, so on and so forth, very sport orientated. Now, this podcast will be speaking along the lines of those sports areas and interests of not only just myself, but my friend. But in addition to this, we will also be talking about key topics, sensitive topics, just usual off the cuff subjects. And that is going to be the format of the podcast going forward. You know, we will be laying the foundations. We will be actually obviously doing a theme of each week, but other than that, it's going to be very off the cuff. So this will be the podcast foundation stroke format. We do not have a scheduled release date as it so happens at the minute. It'll probably be recorded on a weekend. We both have 9 to 5 jobs spanning on a Monday to Friday. So it's not like as if we can do this full time in that regard, you know, but we will be probably recording content on the on the weekend, and then will be uploaded. Either it could go live, it could also be uploaded at a later date. So that is going to be what's going on with this. This is actually, as I said, this is just the first episode, and this is just going to be the foundations laid out from myself. So without further ado, I'm obviously going to talk about what you can expect. I feel like some of the stuff that we can be talking about is traveling. For instance, my mate, he done 6 months traveling, so I'll talk to him about that. Can also be talking about struggles, mental health struggles, anything like that, just general news topics, anything that we find in the news or that's topical at that time and point in time on interesting subjects. We are not off limits. So if you do have any suggestions and what you want to hear, what you want to see or hear from the podcast, you are more than welcome to. But I'm just going to, kickstart this, I suppose, by highlighting something that I just saw, and it is UFC related, and something that I just want to talk about personally on a personal level. And this is in regards to Jordan Vucenic. He is the UFC fighter, newly signed UFC, recently signed UFC fighter, should I say. And he recently fought at UFC London. He did unfortunately get a loss at UFC London. And to be fair, he shouldn't have lost it. If I'm completely honest, it was he basically went in for a takedown at the wrong time, and then got caught in a guillotine. But I want to show something which has come up on my Facebook, and I think it's actually quite interesting, and it's something that we should get behind. If you wish to, you're more than welcome to. But let's have a quick look here. So let's have a look. So as you can see here, This is a post from Jordan. This is actually on his personal Facebook page, which I have, well, which I've actually commented on and do have access to. He is currently raffling off his UFC walkout t-shirt for a local family. Now, as we all know, Jordan Vucenic lives in Corby. He does have a family, and he has 3 children. And he's currently auctioning off one of his walkout shirt that he wore at UFC London. It's going to be on a raffle style, £20 per number, and it's going to be ranging from 1 to 100 in terms of the number range. The reason why he's doing this, as it states in there, is because, of a local family that's going through something, and as a parent, he realizes that and he wants to help out with the struggles that they may be facing as parents at the minute. I'm not too sure exactly what that entails from a specific point of view, but there you go. This, I think we should get behind. If you do have a bit of spare cash, you're more than welcome to enter into this raffle. As I said, £20 per number, and it is 1 to 100 in the number range. I myself have entered. I feel like it's a brilliant cause to get behind to help out another family. And if you look at it, £20 per number, he's going to be, obviously getting quite a bit of money, I suppose, to go towards that family, which is good. So it's for a good cause, and you do have the opportunity to win something from Jordan Vucenic, and it is actually worn, and he will, as he says, he can sign it or leave it blank. It's completely up to the winner. A little bit of news just coming out, I suppose, he posted this 1 hour ago. I personally have entered. He's got currently, how many comments has he got? 36 comments on it, shared 51 times. So there was someone asking, when will this be drawn? And then Regan, his girlfriend, his girlfriend, the mother of his kids, said that this will be drawn as soon as the numbers are filled. So please do go and check that out. Jordan Vucenic running a raffle on Facebook. This post is public, so do feel free to get along and put in for a good cause there. So that is that in terms of what I wanted to speak about from the Jordan Vucenic side of things. So I'm going to stop that there. As I said, this podcast is not limited in terms of what we're going to be covering, and I do have some ideas of what I will be covering going forward, which I feel like will be some interesting topics. It's not necessarily something that you're used to on this channel, but my mate is very comedic, and so am I. We just bounce back off of each other when it comes to that sort of thing. So I can imagine it being quite a good podcast. Obviously, at the minute where it's a 1-to-1 in terms of just me talking directly to the camera, it's a bit different. But I mean, that is the reason, I suppose, when I'm saying about the foundation, the podcast foundation, this is the reason why I want to do it, is to, I don't know, help others maybe through maybe some of the various topics that we're going to cover, reminisce, look back at experiences, myself and my mate, laugh, joke, and just talk about, what we've learned and where we've come from. We both, come from a East London borough, or unless you want to call it Essex, if you're familiar, called Dagenham. And ever since then, we both went to, 2 different separate schools. But we became good friends through mutual friends during our school years, and never looked back. So it's going to be quite interesting, because my, for instance, take on school life might be completely different to his. He will have separate experiences. So it will be, interesting to go back and forth in that regard, specifically on that topic. And I'm pretty sure he will share some stories with myself and with yous that I personally haven't heard before. That being said, outside of the school, we would obviously meet up. That's how we became good friends, and we used to go to house parties together, and so on and so forth. So we do have a lot of history there, a lot of memories, a lot of good memories, a lot of fun memories. So it'll be good to go down memory lane at the same time, as well as covering topics that we want to. And as I said, there's no limit. There's no limit on that. So if there's something that comes up during the week that he wants to speak about, or or that we both want to speak about, we will speak about that topic. Just like the Jordan Vucenic here. Jordan Vucenic just posted this 1 hour ago, and by the time this goes out, is live. So, but if you see this in time, I feel like it's a great opportunity to get involved with something that is beneficial to not only a family, and you put money towards a good cause, but at the same time, you get the ability as well to potentially win a worn UFC walkout t-shirt, which also could be signed by him if you wish to, or unsigned if you don't. Entirely up to you. But for me personally, I've entered that will go very nice up against my UFC 309 canvas, which had my name on it. So, helping that, as well as with a chance to also add to my collection. Why not? Why not? It's a no-brainer for me. In terms of payment for this, his girlfriend did actually reach out to me. That's where I sent the payment to. She'll give you the details, and she'll also let you know if the number that you originally select is taken or not. Very simple. As I said, just comment and it will go from there. I am aware that there is a UFC Fight Night card on at the minute. Particularly won't be covering that, if I'm completely honest, at the minute. I know we've got the UFC 314 next week, I do believe. Paddy Pimblett, Michael Chandler, going to be a good fight. So looking forward to that as a fellow Brit. It's going to be a very big test, very, very big test for Paddy Pimblett. We've seen what happened to Madeleine McCann. Madeleine McCann. It's late over here, man. Madeleine McCann, Molly McCann. In regards to her losing and her losing streak, and how she's gone and retired from the sport following her loss at UFC London. So Paddy needs to continue on his run. Hopefully he can do so. I'm rooting for him, and that's hopefully what happens, is that he beats Michael Chandler. It's going to be a very, very tough ask, though. Very, very tough. The reason for this podcast foundation video, or podcast episode 1, talking about the foundation, is because this was actually confirmed today that my mate is on board. He recently actually secured a job. He already had a job, but it was basically a crew member for production. So for event production. So if you're into your events, we can also, obviously, I'm sure we'll be able to cover off that topic and what he done there. But it was basically a 0 hour. It's very, get work when you can. But he's actually secured now. He's actually a production manager. So now he essentially manages the crews. And if anyone's familiar with the event space known as drum sheds, or you've got drum sheds, Printworks, he essentially manages the production for events that are held there. So a very interesting job that he does in his personal life. Me personally, I've never actually mentioned this on the channel, but for a job, I am actually a IT technical delivery manager. So I manage high-end, high-value projects ranging from hundreds of thousands of pounds to millions of pounds, multi-million pound projects for a rail company here in the UK. And it's something that I do enjoy. So yeah, I'm pretty sure we can talk about experiences and how we got to those positions, and how we started from humble beginnings. Because believe it or not, from where we come from the area that we come from, there, I don't know, probably is a very high unemployment rate. The prospects in terms of jobs isn't that great. A lot of people, a lot of people were supposed to stay within the area that we live and do the local Tesco as the jobs or whatever, which is not knocking anyone that does those jobs. But to come from the background that we do, with high unemployment, is something to, be thankful for and be proud of. So, I said to my mate when he got this job, very proud of him for doing so. And I mean, from me personally as well, from my personal standpoint as well, to where I've come from, started out on an apprenticeship to where I am now. It is very, very humbling, and I'm fortunate to be in the position I am today, because I know that a lot of people, especially within the UK, are in a cost of living crisis, and potentially we could be dipping into a recession, depending. You got these tariffs from Trump and so on and so forth. So it's very hard to predict, but I'm just thankful to be in the position I am. So yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure we will be talking about stuff like that as well. Just as a little teaser, these are some of the subjects which I'm looking to bring forward to the channel, and then also, as I said, our experiences when we've gone to events together, funny stories, X, Y, and Z. That is really what's going to be happening in terms of a podcast situation going on with this channel, and that will be some added content on top of what you get from the UFC content. And that's how I'm looking to move forward with this going forward, is to have this podcast on a regular basis with my co-host, and go on from there, which is good, which I am looking forward to, and that will be alongside the content that you regularly get as well. So if you are here for your other content, whether that be drum and bass content, your UFC content, your MMA content, you're gonna get that here as well. I say not necessarily in the podcast format, but you will also get it in the regular videos that I do upload. I suppose in terms of the entertainment industry, I do want to look at this, because I regularly do check out TMZ. I don't know if anyone else on here checks out TMZ or anything like that. But I did also recently saw as well that Luigi Mangione, the person who shot the healthcare worker, is facing the potential for, I think it's the death penalty, if I'm not mistaken, which I was kind of, well, I don't know whether I was surprised about, but it was, it's interesting. Yeah, look, if I'm gonna share this right here. So if I do the present again, share the screen. Look at this. Look. Luigi Mangione, CEO shooting suspect. 26. No, that is no age, man. Luigi Mangione. I mean, he's got his reasons for doing it, I guess. Whether you believe in them or you don't is a different story. But he has his own personal motive, I guess. The DOJ to seek, so Department of Justice to seek death penalty for Luigi Mangione. I watched the documentary Who is Luigi Mangione, and I mean, his reasons for doing it, I've personally, if I'm being completely honest, the way that healthcare industry is run in the US, and the amount of money that they make, and denials of healthcare claims, is outrageous. And I mean, the meaning behind it I can get with. I just think it's the way he's gone about it. He could have done something else. But that's interesting, coming out this week, that they're looking to seek the death penalty. I know there are a lot of people in support of Luigi. And it'd be interesting to know whether you are, and whether you think what he done was the correct way of going about it or not. Do you think he should get the death penalty? I mean, life for a life, they say, right? I know that he's loved in that. Well, I remember they'd done an interview outside the police, well, outside where he's staying at the minute, and the people that are in there were just like, yeah, free Luigi. A lot of people are sticking by him, and he's got his fans for sure. And then you got to look at as well, though, the healthcare industry, and the CEO has a lot of blood on his hands as well, who he killed. You got to look at it like that. If you want to do life for a life, yeah, it's all right. If you want to pull the trigger, you've definitely took a life there. But the CEO of that healthcare company may not have necessarily pulled the trigger, but he's allowed people to die under his watch when people should have been given the care that they need, essentially, and they were denied it, all for profit margins, all for, you know, the people that they need to serve on the stock market. And they shouldn't be looked at as a company. Yeah, I guess a company like that, but it shouldn't really be determined on profits. How can you be determined on profits from a healthcare industry? It baffles me. Sometimes the world that we live in isn't as great as what it is, as what it should be, which is sad to see. You know, I feel like these companies should take onus of what they're doing, and they have a huge responsibility to serve the people. 100%, they have a huge responsibility to serve the people, and if they're not doing that, then shame on them. You know. So if I look at the Guardian here, just loading this up. US prosecutors to seek death penalty for Luigi Mangione. It's a shame, you know, 26, and he had his own health complications as well. So this was for the death of the CEO of Brian Thompson, United Healthcare. Federal prosecutors are seeking a death penalty against the man accused of fatally shooting the United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson outside the Manhattan Hotel on the 4th of December. If you're familiar with the content that I've brought, that was actually near the time when I was personally in the US. So yeah, it's quite weird, I guess. I was in the US in December, New York as well specifically. I have no idea whether I walked around where he was actually shot or not, but both state and federal charges in connection with Thompson's killing. He's pleaded not guilty for the state charges and has not entered a plea to the federal ones. So that's interesting. He's not entered the plea deal. He's looking to tackle it full on. If he was to enter a plea deal, he probably could get a reduced sentence. That's pretty much what a plea deal is. You plead guilty, you get the reduced sentence. Essentially, maximum punishment on the state charge is life in prison. I mean, it's the Notebook, you know, had excessive hostility towards the healthcare insurance. It says it right there. You know, that's what they're going down. But I have read though that his lawyer is actually very well known and very within their means to take on this case, which will be interesting. I'm definitely gonna keep a lookout for how this trial runs. I'm pretty sure we'll be updating as well on the podcast. We can actually follow this for sure. Said that they plan to avail themselves of about $775,000 in money raised on the Give Send Go platform in aid of his legal defence. Now, this goes to show the amount of support that Luigi Mangione's got. Look, 775. Well, that's to avail themselves. But there was, as I said, there was a lot of backing. There was a lot of backing for him, and I mean, I can't disagree with his motives. I mean, his motives, I agree with. Maybe it's just the way he went about it, but that'll be down to the jury to decide, and it should be interesting because it could go one way or the other. But yeah, now that's some interesting news coming out this week for sure. I don't know whether they've even got the trial date or anything like that. I don't know whether that has actually been stipulated yet. 5 counts, forgery, firearms, not to be carried without a license, tampering with records. Interesting. One thing I do want to talk about as well is this Netflix documentary. A lot of people, or say documentary, Netflix series, a lot of people are talking about this, and it's Adolescence. I don't know how big this is elsewhere, but in the UK, this is a very big topic of conversation at the minute. And it is around the show Adolescence. 8.3 out of 10, 99% on Rotten Tomatoes. If you haven't seen it, please do go and see it. Terrific show, very well done. Has Stephen Graham in it, terrific actor from the UK. It also has Ashley Walters. If you're familiar from the UK, So Sonic crew, Ashley Walters was also in Top Boy. He wrote Top Boy, was a big part of Top Boy alongside Kano. I thoroughly enjoyed this series, and I think it covered a good sensitive topic, if I'm completely honest. It's basically around social media, so the platforms that we're on now, and the toxic masculinity towards women that we see. You know, a lot of the children these days have grown up in an era where it's purely phones, and they're very influenced by the Andrew Tates of the world. Now, Andrew Tate, you can either love him, hate him, but me personally, you know, we can take notes from every person and their thoughts, and maybe it doesn't mean say you necessarily got to agree with everything that he says, but you can also agree with some parts, disagree with some parts, X, Y, and Z. So, but adolescence is a very, very big topic of conversation here in the UK at the minute. So just to give you the rundown, it is a 4-episode series. It is a limited series, which means that there is just one series and it covers everything in that 4 episodes. This young boy, 13-year-old, as it says, it centers around a 13-year-old schoolboy named Jamie Miller, played by Owen Cooper, who was arrested for the murder of a girl in his school. Each of its 4 episodes was shot in one continuous take. Now, this was something that I was actually, surprised that it was the one continuous take, because when I was watching it, there was actually 1 or 2 episodes where I was like, oh, this is getting a bit boring. When are they going to move to the next scene? And then I thought to myself, well, but this is just one continuous shot. So the actors in this didn't actually get any break. It was literally just shot one take, but they did rehearse for months and months on end. And Ashley Walters, who plays a police officer, he messed up on one of his lines when chasing someone on whilst filming. He accidentally called him by the real name, and apparently he was really, I don't know, disheartened by that. But yeah, they said not to worry. But yeah, no, it's good. As it centers around a lot of the Andrew Tate situation about, you know, how young boys of today will, you know, look at women and just see them as objects, which they definitely are not. And you know, if someone's just going to say, like for instance, in this series, they claim apparently the boy, you know, is going to be forever alone and stuff like that. And he then obviously confines in the internet, sees Andrew Tate-esque, which is basically obviously what it's based upon. It's based on, you know, Andrew Tate podcast stuff and the way he views women. And then he essentially lashes out because he was bullied, essentially. And it's quite a sad series in some ways, because you look at the aspects of everyone. You look at the aspects of the police officers. You look at the aspects of the family, the close family. So his mum, his dad, and how they react to the situation. But also the boy in general. And there's there is a big, massive shift in one of these episodes, which just goes to show how brainwashed he is from the content that he sees online, which is very powerful. And like I said, I do urge you to watch it. I don't want to give away too much. I don't want to give you away the outcome of what happens. But what I will say, though, is there's a reason why it's rated so highly. There's a reason why it's number 1 in programs on Netflix in the UK. There's a reason why it's 8.3 out of 10 on IMDb. A lot of ratings. It's to the point where it's even being debated in Parliament, the effects that social media has on young men and young people in general. What I will say, though, is me personally, currently 29 years of age, 30 this year, I may look older, may look younger, depending on the way you see me. I know it's late. It's late over in the UK. It's 5 to 1 in the morning. So these lines, it's late. But with adolescence, I suppose, in the way that I grew up, I was fortunate enough to grow up in a time where I would go out and knock for my mates to see if they wanted to play when I was younger. Social media was about, but I suppose Facebook didn't really get big until around about 2008, 2009, and I was already in my secondary school there at that time. BlackBerry, for instance, the old 8520. If any of you remember BlackBerry, BBM, game changer in terms of messaging with friends, the way we communicated. In my personal opinion, it was the big thing at the time. That didn't come around until I was year 10, year 11. So the very tail end. Whereas these days, the kids, they're introduced to social media and these ways of communication at such a young age. And it's about how we monitor their... It's about how we monitor their... about what they see, about what they can do, and their interactions, I suppose. And yeah, as a parent, I mean, I'm not a parent myself, but you can't watch over them 24/7. Best be mindful of what is out there. And technology moves so fast. There's always a new app that's being launched. There's always a new TikTok. There's always a new Instagram. There's always a new Telegram. There's always a new WhatsApp. The latest WhatsApp sort of messenger service. So yeah, I mean, just be wary. And I'm thankful that I grew up in the era where social media, messaging apps, Instagram was just about to blow up, because it allowed me to have that childhood where I'd go around my mates, we'd see each other, we'd go over to the park, we'd just do all them nice things, and it definitely shed some light. I mean, for instance, if I have kids later on, I mean, I don't currently have kids, as I said, but if I have kids, it definitely makes me think about how I would monitor their screen time online specifically and what they're exposed to. And not only just that, it's about checking in with them, having conversations with your kids and being honest and frank, because one of the episodes specifically talks about the lack of family input. And what I mean by that is that his dad works nights. He barely sees his dad because of the shifts that he works, which is unfortunate, but it's just a way of life. Some people work nights, and because of that, he just stayed in his room. The son stayed in his room because of that. They just thought he was okay. He's not hurting anyone. He's just in his room on the computer. But you don't know. This is how people get brainwashed. So yeah, I won't say too much about it. What I will say though is that the soundtrack for this was actually done by a person who's meant to be the victim in all of this, the person who dies, which is quite interesting. I never knew about that until obviously after seeing it and looking it up. Which, yeah, I mean, just goes to add, when you summarize all of them elements together, and you look at this show, you'll understand exactly why that's such a moving thing to hear. Even though it's not based on true story, it is basically about what we can see coming in future. One thing that I would say, and one thing that I did see, is, speaking of Stephen Graham, Little Boy Blue, 2017 drama. Not only is it a drama, it is factual. It's actually a true life event, and it's about the murder of at the time, 13-year-old. Who was his name? Basically, sorry, not even 13. Beg my pardon. 11-year-old Reece Jones in Liverpool in 2007. Tragic story. Stephen Graham, as I said, just like Adolescence, great actor. I do urge you to go and check this out. If you do have availability to it, it's on the ITVX player. IMDb 7.8 out of 10, Amazon 4.8 out of 5. I think it's another 4-parter, if I'm not mistaken. Another 4-parter, which is really gripping. And as I said, unlike Adolescence, which is non-factual and there's no background, no truth behind it as such, this is actually a true story around the murder of 11-year-old Rhys Jones in Liverpool in 2007, who was an Everton supporter who really tragically got hit during a crossfire during football practice against two rival gangs in Liverpool. So, true story. If you really want drama, this is where to go. Stephen Graham, tremendous actor, as I said, and blows it out of the park. It's another one. So yeah, I remember that because I watched Adolescence. I was like, Stephen Graham, I remember this show, and I remember how impactful it was. So yeah, released back in April 2017. So yeah, do check that out. Little Boy Blue. I'm trying to think, is there anything else really I can cover for this? I mean, personally, for me, I do have a few things coming up this week. What's that few things? I'm seeing Usher this week. Should be very interesting. I've heard good things. He does a 2-hour show at the O2 Arena, covering a lot of his hits. So interesting to see that. It's just one of the many things that I will be covering, and there will also be videos on here for that. So please do feel free to stick around, and you'll be getting them personalized videos uploaded. But in terms of the podcast, as I said, East is East will be coming with regular, and I mean regular uploads. So yeah, do stay tuned for that. I'm interested. What's going on with the UFC at the minute? So where's the UFC at the minute? Share screen. Just pulling up the UFC. That's what's going on with the UFC card. Not main card at the minute, still on prelims. Okay. So Reese McKee versus Daniel Frenza is on at the minute. Yeah. As I said, UFC 314 next week. Volkanovski versus Diego Lopez. Going to be good. Looking forward to Michael Chandler, Paddy Pimblett, Bryce Mitchell against Gene Silva, Nikita Krylov, Dominic Reyes, and Jeff Neal versus Carlos Prates is called off. Looking forward to that. I will be covering that next week. So, yep. Sunday main card, or Sunday UK time, 3 a.m. in the morning. Going to be interesting. There will be a live watch along on here, as I usually do. More than welcome to come along and watch that if you're watching now, or if you see this before next Saturday night, if you're in the US, next Sunday. So, yep, feel free to come along and watch along. I understand as well that what one thing I will say actually is that it's about Ultra Music Festival. Ultra Music Festival took place last week in Miami, and I'm not surprised that they had. So look, there you go. Friday 28th of March to Sunday the 30th. So literally last week was Ultra Music Festival. The festival had some weather trouble, which is not surprising. They usually have weather trouble. They had weather trouble last year. They will not move this date. It's Miami Music Week. But I can imagine it was a bit crap for the attendance there. 165,000 across 3 days. So you're looking at roughly just over 50,000 per day. Currently, at the minute, there is Dreamville. Dreamville's on at the minute as well in North Carolina, which is J. Cole's festival. Decent lineup, I think. For this one they got. I know they've got Lil Wayne there this weekend. I think he's headlining this evening. Dreamville Fest. Hey. Yeah, Lil Wayne, Hot Boys, 21 Savage, Party Next Door, Ludacris. I would love to see Ludacris. I do like Ludacris. And then obviously tomorrow's J. Cole headlining, as it is Heath Festival. Thames, Wale. Looking good. North Carolina. One of the artists that I do love, and I would love to see if he comes to the UK, Murray. Murray is an artist from North Carolina. He recently went independent. He was part of Pick Six Records. He had a massive hit with Quicksand. But one thing I do respect about Murray is I suppose, is the way that he communicates his struggles through music. If you listen to the lyrics of his stuff like Trenches, it talks about how he's come from the streets, hustled himself up, and he's doing good within life. And he talks about the struggles that everyone can relate to, and just real music. That's what I love: real music, real hip hop. And I would love for him to come to the UK. I know he's got a big following. 32 years of age in Fayetteville, North Carolina, US. So Murray, hopefully he can come to the UK at this point. I know that he's looking to tour a bit more. And what was interesting is that he hasn't done his own full show before. He's opened up for J. Cole, and he's opened up for a few artists, but he hasn't done his own show, which I was very surprised about. He does have the catalogue for it. He's got 2 EPs or 2 albums, so he does have the catalogue to run his own show. He was saying, I've seen on podcasts, that he's looking to get his own tour going, his own shows. I don't know whether that'll be international. I wouldn't be surprised if it's not, because where he's independent depends where he's going to get booked over here in the UK, or whether someone will book him and run with it. Like, I suppose someone like TCO, because I know TCO's been over Sean Paul, Ashanti, and a few others, but they're very big on their artists. They've got to be very mainstream. Murray isn't that big to be mainstream over here. He has one hit. I suppose you got one big hit. But yeah, we'll soon see. I saw little TJ as he was on the come up over here, but then again, he was a part of a record label, non-independent. So it's a bit of a struggle. He's even available for bookings. Let's see. So if you go here, if I open this up, I know that he's available for bookings. So yes, look, Murray available for bookings, shows, interview, features, podcast, appearances, pop-ups, and there's his booking email, murraymanagement@gmail.com. So you're going independent. Let me present, actually, because I was presenting the wrong screen there. Let's have a look. So this is it. Yeah, look, Murray available for bookings. Shows, interviews, features, podcasts, appearances, pop-ups. This is booking email, murraymanagement@gmail.com. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'd love to have him on this podcast, but I don't know. I'll see how much he charges, isn't it? But yeah, no, as someone from the UK, I do love Murray's music. I love his messages through music, and that's what music's all about. I've even said, if he announces a New York date, I don't mind jetting off to NYC just to see him. And that would be the main reason as well. Obviously, I do a bit of shopping out there, go to the outlet. I love outlet shopping over there. Very good if you're from the UK, and the prices that you can get at some of the outlets there. But I would totally fly over to the US to see Murray for sure, and he can sing live. I've seen him. This is the reason why he was like one of the lead singers in the church that he went to. It's because of the voice. You can't be singing in church, mate, with a crap voice. Especially if you're in the choirs and stuff like that. Guy can sing. So big respect to Murray. If you don't know about him, go and check him out. Please do. I'm pretty sure you'll love the sound if you love your hip hop. And the true messages that he can bring. It's not no mumble rap. It's not no crap. It is real. So please do go and check that out. I think I'm going to leave it there for this first episode of East is East. Like I said, there will be more content. There will be more of this podcast coming, and it will not just feature myself. It will feature my co-host Shane. All right. Don't want to say his last name, but yeah, I'm pretty sure who he'll say what he wants to say when he's on there, and I'm pretty sure whoever's watching will give him a warm welcome, and we'll be chopping it up and getting in some nitty gritty stuff. I'm pretty sure, and having a good laugh. So if you want to stick around, please do subscribe. East is East podcast coming to you soon, and it is on the way. Episode 1 is in the books. That's time to go for episode 2, and the 2 will have the 2 of us in it. So without further ado, wherever you are, if you're having a good day, having a good evening, I hope you are. Until next time, guys, take care. Peace.